Get a bus to Wally Creek, a train to Reversby, and then a bus to Canterbury Road, and then it's a 10-minute walk.
Okay.
It's not too bad, but because of waiting times, the whole journey time is an hour and 15. That is a long commute. My placement is in southwest Sydney. Francesca's placement is in North Sydney. So we're kind of like that because our Airbnb is like here and I'm over here and she's up there. It means that we both have quite a long commute because there wasn't like a perfect place for us both to live. Got my Sri Lankan tea, my Ceylon tea, which I've already seen they sell in Woolies here, but this one is actually from Sri Lanka. First day done. I am tired. I couldn't sleep till like 4 AM last night. I'm not really sure what's going on with the jet lag because in Sri Lanka I never struggled with sleep, and that was like a 6-hour time difference from the UK, and now I've just jumped like another 5 or 6 hours, but for some reason here the sleep is just not happening. I'm really wide awake at like 3 in the morning and I was awake till 4 last night and I had to be up pretty early to go in. But anyway, I had a good first day on placement. So I got to placement, I met the placement admin lady who was really nice. I got the feeling they don't get many elective students because she had kind of forgotten I was coming, and she also commented on my accent and was quite excited that I was from England, which I wasn't really expecting because I thought lots of English people work in the hospitals here, but maybe not the one I'm at. She gave me a little tour of the kind of common areas and stuff like that, and then she helped me get my hospital ID sorted. And the photo they took of me is so bad because I just wasn't photo ready this morning, let's put it that way. I texted my consultant because she gave me her number before the placement started, and we met for a coffee and she bought me coffee, which is really nice. The coffee here is so much nicer than in the UK. Can't work out why it's so nice. It's also cheaper than in the UK. We spent about 45 minutes just talking through the placement and where I might be expected to go, timetable, things like that, and then she kind of just let me ask her lots of questions about the healthcare system in Australia and her career and like how it's all worked. But she's born in Australia, she went to university here, she's worked here her whole life, so it was good to like learn from her about what it's like. I'm on an aged care placement, so we went to the Jerry's ward, and although a lot of the patients are kind of dotted around this hospital, the hospital is quite a small hospital. It's a bit like a DGH would be. We went to the wards and she introduced me to the team. There's one junior who's really nice. There's a reg covering for the next 2 weeks, so it's not the usual registrar, but immediately he was really nice and welcoming. So we went round and saw, I think, 5 or 6 patients. I was really pleasantly surprised by how much teaching they were doing. Like, they would pause and explain things to me and ask me questions and talk to me. I mean, that does happen in the UK, but I just was quite like pleasantly surprised by how quickly they just were keen to involve me. After the ward round, there was lunchtime teaching. Because it's the end of the junior doctor's rotation and moving on, I think, to a new job next week or the week after, they had pizza. It wasn't just like Domino's, like it was fancy pizza. And then I went back to the ward and I was kind of with the junior doctor at this point, and I was just kind of helping him with jobs, watching him do jobs. He was showing me how the systems work, and I was also just asking him so many questions about like what he likes about working here, his life in Australia, that kind of stuff. And I'm sure I was probably annoying him a little bit, but I just feel like while I'm here I might as well try and learn as much as I can about how it all works, just in case I ever want to come maybe and work here, I don't know. And then after that it was time for me to go home. I feel like that was quite a successful first day on placement, all things considered. I think the problem with elective is you just don't know what the quality of the teaching or the placement is going to be until you arrive. And I think one of the pros of going through a university, it might be more expensive, but it's more standardized, like you're more likely, I guess, to get proper organized placement. That being said, I'm interested to hear how Francesca's got on, because Francesca's placement was organised just through emailing and contacting people. I've also learnt that the Aussie doctors are potentially going on strike next week, so there might be strike days. Francesca started later than me today and she's not back yet, so I'm now just waiting for her. Maybe we're gonna go do something this evening, but to be fair, I think we're both going to be quite tired. I'm quite tired right now. I really want a nap, but I feel like if I can just power through today, that might just fix my sleeping pattern, and I've also got to be up early again tomorrow. This is where we're staying for 2.5 weeks, and then when Jack comes to visit, we're moving somewhere else that has slightly more space. This is the main kind of area in the flat. We've got a lovely kitchen, has a dishwasher, really big fridge freezer as well, which is great. I feel like we're gonna save a lot of money doing like food shopping and cooking our own food. We've got a washer dryer in there, which is being used a lot at the moment because we couldn't really do much washing in Sri Lanka. That's all our shoes. And then this is like the main living area. We've got a TV, it's not a smart TV, so we're getting used to Aussie digital telly. And then we've got this little table over here. This is where we've been doing our job ranking for our foundation jobs recently, and obviously lots of planning for our trip. We have this balcony which looks over the flight path to the airport, and I think there's a plane coming in right now. It is a little bit loud because we're over the airport. The planes don't fly that late at night. And then in there is Francesca's bedroom, and this is the bathroom, which the shower is really good. And then my room, which is a bit of a cave. It doesn't have any windows. This is what it looks like. It is like a sofa bed, but it's really comfy. So I've kind of drawn the short straw with the bedroom on this flat, but because Jack's coming for 2 weeks, oh my god, it's sunny, I thought it was only fair to let Chess have the big, nice bedroom for this one, because she's gonna have to put up with me and Jack for a little while.
I don't even understand what they're doing on there.
What is it?
This is SE test.
I never heard of it.
Neither.
Is it an Australian test?
I don't know. But I was just gonna do McMurray's, but then I was like, what if you asked me about SE test?
My second day of placement. I am exhausted. I still can't sleep properly. Last night I think I fell asleep at like 1:30 and I had to be up at 7 AM. So I am still feeling sleep deprived, but it's getting better. Like, I feel the normal sleep pattern returning. I'm being forced into it because of the early starts for placement. But today was another good day. I did a ward round with the reg and the intern, so I think the first year's called interns. There was no consultant today, it was just the 3 of us doing the ward round, and it was just interesting to see some of the same patients from yesterday and some new patients, and go to I think 4 or 5 different wards as well. So I got to see a lot of the hospital today, did a lot of steps. I think because I'm doing like Jerry's, it's obviously very medical, so it is really good revision. So I'm paying much closer attention to what the intern does, because they are only like 3 months into their first job as a doctor. They're kind of like 6 months ahead of where I am, because they start their first job in February here, whereas in the UK obviously we start in August. So this intern is like basically me in 6 months, so I'm trying to really like keep a close eye on everything they do and like what is expected of them. Obviously it's pretty similar in Australia to in England. And then after ward round we went for coffee and we like chatted for ages, and I got to like pick their brains basically about how the system works here and what they think of it and where they want to work and what they want to do. I spoke to them a little bit about the politics of training programs here. So there was, yeah, a good chat with the coffee, and as always the coffee tasted great. And then basically I got sent away because I think tomorrow is going to be a longer day. So I'm not complaining, because I would really love to go and see a bit of Sydney today, now that I'm feeling a bit more well rested. Francesca's doing orthopedic surgery for her placement, and today she's watching a theatre list. So I think what I'm going to do is, because her placement is more central, I'm going to head into central, spend the afternoon exploring, waiting for her to finish, because she started later than me, so she's probably going to finish a bit later than me. That's the plan. I want to see some of the centre of Sydney. I'm not gonna go see the Opera House and all the views of the like harbour yet because I want to wait until Francesca and I are like together. But so far I'm really loving it here. What I'm surprised at is I thought there'd be lots of English doctors in the hospital, but in the hospital I'm in, there is, well, I've not come across any English doctors yet. I think I've seen like one Irish doctor, but like mostly they're Australian and they went to uni here. From our like chat I was having with the 2 doctors today, I think a lot of the English doctors work in emergency departments, and I think they also work in the bigger hospitals, like in the centre. Anyway, I'm rambling again. I'm gonna get changed because I'm a bit warm and I'm gonna go into Sydney. Yay! Wednesday, it's 7:15 and I'm ready to do the commute again. It's just difficult because although it's a short bus, a short train and a short bus, it's like the transit times in between that are a bit annoying, because if I miss one of the other then I have like quite a long wait. I guess I'm gonna have to get used to this because next year I might have a commute. I slept a little bit better last night, but I still don't feel totally caught up with my sleep. Anyway, let's do this. Placement day 3.
On the Sydney train services, once again your next stop is Central.
By Thursday of placement, we were definitely getting more into the swing of things, and after placement, we wasted no time getting on the train to Bondi Junction and going to Bondi for the first time. Bondi is a trek away from where we were staying in Newtown, so it took us over an hour to get there, but so worth it. I mean, look at the views at Bondi. The waves were so big, the beach was stunning, and it was a very touristy place, which I was expecting. I had read that. I just loved it there. I loved the atmosphere, I loved the shops, I loved the restaurants, the beach there was beautiful, the iceberg pools. I just think, for me, it was exactly what I was expecting when you think of Australia, and we ended up going back to Bondi so many times. We just loved it there. We also met up with another med student called Anna, who I'm sure a lot of you know from YouTube. Previously, I think her name was Everyday Anna on here, but now it's just Anna Rebecca. And we met up for a sunset drink, which was lovely, and it was so nice to catch up with Anna. I'd not seen her in a little while. So this is what I picked up from Woolies. So this is basically my weekly shop. Obviously we are going to eat out a few times just because we're going to want to try places, but I've spent £31, which I think is okay considering I got chicken and veggie sausages, I got some avos, I got some beans, I got some salad. What else did I get? I got Nando's sauce because I haven't had it in ages and I miss it. Loads of Greek yogurt, rice, hummus, halloumi. Like, I would have got more veg, but veg seems to be the most expensive thing in the shops, so I've unfortunately had to get less veg than I normally would. But I think overall for £30 I could have probably spent a bit more and got a bit more veg, but I don't know, I've still got carrots and cucumber from last week, so this is what I got. I'm pretty happy with £30. I think that the shops are maybe slightly more expensive in part, but for the most part quite similar to UK prices, I would say. And the blueberries here are so good. I'm hoping these are as good as last week's. For lunch today, I'm just having leftover pasta that I made last night. I'm doing this budget thing in Sydney pretty well, I think, so far. I think the plan is we're gonna have dinner out tonight as a treat. And tomorrow we're going on a road trip, so we'll probably take packed lunches and then come home and eat dinner here. So I think I'm getting the balance right so far. Unfortunately, on a student budget, you have to be careful, don't you? In Sri Lanka, we literally ate out every single night, so this is a bit of a change. So that's the end of my first week on elective here in Sydney. Overall, I've had a really good week. The team have been so welcoming and friendly and willing to like have me there. I was worried that maybe they would be confused about why I was there and not really engage with me, but overall, all the consultants I've met and all the other doctors have been really nice. I've done 5 ward rounds. Over the week, I've seen a lot of the same patients again and again. It's been good for revising medicine, definitely. Overall, being in a hospital in Australia is very much similar to the UK. I'm just really itching now to see some more sites, and this weekend we have a lot of fun things planned. For now, I'm gonna eat my late lunch, and I'm going to wait for Francesca to get back. She's been sent home from clinic early, so we're gonna celebrate our first week probably by going for a drink at Could You Be, potentially getting a yochi, which I'm very excited for. Where have you got that energy from? Oh yeah. Our weekend was incredibly jam-packed, even after a really busy week of placement. We didn't want to waste any time, and Charlotte, the medical student who was also in Sydney, had actually rented a car, and she kindly offered to pick us up and take us with her on a road trip to see the Blue Mountains. And the Blue Mountains is a national park that's just outside Sydney. I think you can get there in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's really not that far. We drove out there and we basically spent the day just exploring the Blue Mountains. Budget queens. The Blue Mountain name comes from the fact that all of the eucalyptus plants that you can see create this kind of blue hue. Honestly, the videos don't do it justice. Like, looking at it in person, it was stunning. We decided to spend our evening at Darling Harbour. Every Saturday they have a firework display, so we decided to head down there at about 7 or 8 o'clock, have some dinner, and then finish our evening watching the fireworks. And then to round off an amazing first week in Sydney, we actually spent our Sunday catching the ferry over to Manly, and this was so much fun. I absolutely loved catching the ferry. To be able to sail through the harbour for basically the equivalent of a few pounds blows my mind. We'll never get bored of getting on a public ferry in Sydney Harbour. A lot of people online on TikTok and things had recommended Norma's Deli,
and they basically do these huge sandwiches on focaccia bread. So yummy, so yummy. We took our giant sandwiches down to the beach and sat on Manly Beach. We did have to watch out for the seagulls. They did like the look of our sandwiches, so we did have to eat them pretty discreetly. Pretty much just spent the rest of our Sunday lying on the beach, soaking up the sun and reading our books, and it was absolutely perfect. And that wraps up my first week in Sydney. There is another vlog to come, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this insight into being a medical student in Sydney on elective. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.